1963. That was a pivotal time for the civil rights movement. It was also a turning for the worse in my life. It was the year my eyes were opened to the real reason for the differences I experienced growing up. This was the time I allowed the anger and the hatred to enter my heart. I had grown up in an environment and neighborhood that I considered middle class. Certainly we were not poor. We never wanted for anything. But it was the spring of 1963 when Dr. King and Fred Shuttlesworth collaborated for change in Birmingham. April 1963 was when they decided to put pressure on the major department stores where we were allowed as blacks to spend our money, but we were banned from the lunch counters and the restrooms and even the fitting rooms to try. We could buy the dress, but we couldn't go and try it on. Yeah. So around Easter season that year, the SCLC, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, decided this was the ideal time to boycott the stores. So Dr. King told us to not shop during that season, not to go in and buy Easter frocks for ourselves and our children. And so and he decided also to disobey a court order that he knew would land him in jail that same season. He went to jail on Good Friday during Easter season, and it caught the attention of the nation. It ended up on the front page of the New York Times. And so now the whole world was looking at Birmingham, and that was his objective. Now, May 1963 was when the black kids were summoned or called to action and joined the March for Freedom. We had school assemblies that motivated us to join the Freedom Walk from 16th Street Baptist Church or Kelly Ingram Park to downtown municipal buildings, chanting and singing, "We Shall Overcome." And that caught the attention of everybody too, because these were children, not only high school kids, but elementary school kids as well. Unfortunately, my parents, like many other parents, would not allow us to go because they were afraid. And they also had orders from the bishop of our church not to let us go. But the anger was still there in me. But we were able to watch the news every day as they showed the horror of our classmates being hosed down with fire hose and dogs pushing them back. And all they were doing was marching and singing. But they had instructions, if the police laid hands on them, for them to just drop to their knees, because this was a nonviolent movement, and we were not to fight back. They would drop to their knees and pray. And if they were dragged, just go limp and let them drag you. All that was seen across the nations on TV. We were on the news every day. So that movement continued in Birmingham that summer, and so did the bombings. It was a hot summer. May 11, 1963, Dr. King's brother, A.D. King, his home was bombed. The A.G. Gaston Motel, owned by a black businessman, who allowed his motel to be used for the SCLC staff. It was known as headquarters for the movement. It was bombed May 14, 1963. We went to pick up one of the protesters. She worked for my dad. My dad had a store, right? And so different ones would go downtown and protest and march for freedom. We went to pick her up in A.G. Gadsden Hotel because she had changed her clothes because she had gotten wet. Changed her clothes, and we picked her up. Drove from the hotel about a block and stopped for a red light, and the car began to shake. Boom! We heard a boom, and it was so loud and so forceful to it shook our car as we were sitting there waiting on the red light.
Mm.
And that's what they had bombed the lobby of the hotel.
Oh my goodness.
We had just picked her up from the lobby. She was one of the last ones to leave. And there was nobody in the lobby at that time, but they did bomb. Yeah.
Mm.
So there was so many incidents. See how close everything was together?
Mm-hmm.
Just days apart, things were happening. June 11th, newly elected Governor George Wallace declared, segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. He said that was his platform. June 12th, 1963, the NAACP activist from Mississippi, Medgar Evers, he was shot and killed by a Klansman. So he became a martyr for Mississippi during that same year. August 28, 1963, was the March on Washington, where Dr. King had made his I Have a Dream speech. 18 days later, September 15, 1963, the 16th Street Baptist Church was bombed, killing 4 young girls. 2 of them were my classmates in elementary school, but we were now freshmen and sophomores at different high schools. And that just really devastated me. November 22nd, 1963, President Kennedy was assassinated. Mm-hmm. These are the events that I remember during 1963.
Wow. Listening to Mrs. Jefferson's accounts of 1963, this scripture came to my mind. In this world, you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. That's John chapter 16, verse 33. Jesus said those very words to his disciples. According to the Blue Letter Bible, the word trouble is associated with the words afflicted, affliction, or tribulation. To suffer affliction or to be troubled has reference to sufferings due to the pressures of circumstances or the antagonism of the people around us. The Oxford Language Dictionary defines the word trouble as difficulty or problems, public unrest or discord, or to cause distress or anxiety. As I continued to meditate on the word trouble, these thoughts came to my mind. When we downplay the trouble, we downplay the overcoming. I am so thankful for Mrs. Jefferson because she didn't downplay the trouble she faced in 1963. As we took a long, hard, bumpy ride down memory lane, she talked about the police officers who used high-pressured fire hoses and attack dogs against her classmates during a nonviolent protest. She talked about a bomb that was set in a local motel, a bomb that shook their car and could have injured an employee of her father's if she hadn't picked her up just moments before. These incidences caused hate to enter her heart, but this is not the end of her story. Satan does not get the glory. Stay tuned. Part 3, Change is in the Eye of the Beholder, is next.